Electoral votes and popular votes explained. Every time there is a race for the White House, the world stands by and watches, because the future president of one of the most influential nations in the planet is about to be chosen for a 4-year period. However, most foreigners and even some Americans get confused with our voting system and don't understand how it was possible for Trump to win the presidency back in 2016, even though Hillary got more votes from Americans. In other words, many don't know the difference between electoral votes and popular votes. With another election only days away and a real chance of history repeating itself, we will explain the principles behind electoral votes, how it's different from popular votes, and how 2016 came to be. Also, if you're curious to know how the Trump versus Biden election is likely to develop in November, be sure to watch this video to the very end, where we'll show you the best objective predictions of this year's presidential election, and here's a hint, it's got nothing to do with the polls. Before we get started, please take a moment to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more updates and facts about the elections, the pursuit of power, and the world we live in. How do presidential elections work in the United States? If we were to ask the mass population who chooses the president of the United States, they'd probably answer the American people do. It's a democracy, isn't it? Well, they'd technically be wrong, because it's not the American people who directly elect the president, it's the Electoral College. That's what the American people actually choose. Electoral College is a group of people called electors made up of the members of Congress plus 3 special electors given to the District of Columbia. That means 435 representatives, 100 senators plus 3, which makes a total of 538 electors. Each state gets a predefined number of electors. That number is calculated from the size of its population relative to that of the other states, plus 2 votes from the 2 Senate seats, so it can change a little every 10 years when there is a new census. Being proportional to the state's population leads many to believe that it's basically the same thing to vote for the Electoral College and for the presidency directly. However, as we've seen in the past, this is not the case, and we'll explain why later in this video. So, to win the US presidency, you don't need to have more people voting for you. What you need is to win more electors. A simple majority of half plus 1 will do the trick, so the magic number to aim for is 270 electoral votes. Exactly what are the principles behind the Electoral College? The Electoral College is contemplated in the U.S. Constitution under Article 2, Section 1, Clause 2, so the system was put in place by our founding fathers from the get-go while they argued whether to become a republic or a monarchy. They knew full well the political consequences this would have, and they put it in place for a reason. In short, our founding fathers' actions prove that they didn't really trust a direct democratic system that lets the people choose who they wanted as their president. They suspected that the people would let their emotions and passions get in the way of better judgment and choose a bad candidate, so they went for a representative democracy instead. And under the representative democracy, the people choose their representatives, called the electors, to choose the president for them. The whole point of choosing this system was to allow the possibility of someone winning the presidency while not being the most popular candidate. While it's true that it has only happened a handful of times throughout history, it has already happened twice in the past 2 decades, and seemingly going to happen again this November. The electoral votes versus the popular votes. So now that we have a much clearer view of what the Electoral College is and how important it is, let's talk about the popular votes. Yes, you guessed it, it's simply the total number of votes candidates receive from every voter across the nation. These are the votes actually cast by the people, which is why it's called popular. In a direct democracy, the presidency is won by whomever gets more votes, period. Some argue that this leaves smaller, less populated states in a disadvantage against the really big ones, like California, Texas, Florida, and New York. Others think that it's the whole point, since democracy should be about giving the power to the majorities, not the minorities. Whichever way you look at it though, there's an obvious difference in the value of our votes when the Electoral College can put a candidate in the White House with millions fewer votes than the runner-up. It seems obvious that those extra millions of votes accounted for very little in the end, and therefore seem to be less valuable than those votes in states that tip the scale. There are a couple of major problems that end up deciding how much each individual vote is worth in an election. First of all, the electoral votes are decided based on the state's total population, not by eligible voters or even on voter turnout. So, in states where there are fewer registered voters in relation to the total population, each individual vote will end up counting for more than in another state where the opposite happens, because fewer popular votes will end up representing more electoral votes. Additionally, the total voter turnout in a state can also have a strong influence on how much a popular vote will be worth. Less turnout means fewer people deciding over the same number of electoral votes, and so they end up being more valuable votes. Another important aspect of the U.S. general elections is how campaign money and efforts are distributed across the country, as we'll now explain. Safe states and swing states. The bipartisan political system has been the norm in the U.S. for more than we care to acknowledge, so everything boils down to Republicans versus Democrats. In this electoral battle, there are a number of states that have traditionally voted for one party or the other consistently throughout the past several elections, and these are regarded as safe states. States like California, Oregon, Maryland, and Massachusetts normally vote for Democrats, and others like Mississippi, Alabama, Kansas, and Idaho are red through and through. This means that neither of the two parties dedicate much time, effort, or resources to campaigning in any of those states, because they'll likely have little to no impact on the end result. On the other hand, there are always a number of states that seem reluctant to stick with one party or the other and have swung either way several times during the last couple of election cycles, so they're up for grabs on election day. These states are commonly known as swing states, but many refer to them as battleground states, because that's where the real battle between both candidates takes place. For the upcoming election, some swing states include biggies like Florida, Pennsylvania, and Michigan, as well as others such as Wisconsin, New Hampshire, and Arizona. As it's only natural, most of the campaign money goes exclusively to these swing states because they usually determine who the next president is going to be. Swing states are known for deciding the outcomes of U.S. elections, but regardless of what polls may be declaring Florida and Pennsylvania for Biden, there's a good chance that it won't matter in the end. If you want to know why, keep watching till the very end. In the meantime, here are the top 3 arguments why many people think the Electoral College should be abolished. Number 3. It can make close elections seem like landslide victories. This creates an artificial perception in the general public about the elected president's popularity. It can backfire on the winning side because winning the presidency by a landslide of electoral votes, but with only a minority of popular votes, creates even more tensions and resentment from the losing party towards the winner. Number 2. The all-or-nothing winner-takes-all system. This is probably the biggest caveat built into the system and the one responsible for the discrepancy in outcome between popular votes and electoral votes. The rules of the game are such that in most states, regardless of how many electoral votes they have and by what margin the popular votes are split, the winner of the popular vote will get all the electoral votes for the state. So you could end up winning a state like California, which has 55 electoral votes, by a difference of only 0.001%, yet you would receive all 55 votes, amounting to about 10% of the total electoral votes for the presidency. As a matter of fact, you could win the entire election by winning the swing states alone and not having a single vote in all the other states. Number 1. The Electoral College system today doesn't work as the Founding Fathers intended. Remember we mentioned that the intention of this system is to avoid electing a president based on people's emotions and passions. They thought people's emotions would place a less qualified yet populist president in charge of the White House. But contrary to today, the original Electoral College wasn't chosen by the people, and each elector could vote however he or she thought best. Today, that has completely changed. Not only do we choose the electors, but they're tied to their party and always vote for their party's candidate no matter what. It means that, in the end, we are still the ones voting, albeit indirectly for the president. So the whole point of the Electoral College loses its intended purpose. While we find people from both parties in favor and against our current democratic system, it's what we've got, at least for now. So what do you make of it? Do you think we should press on with the way things are, or should we change to a direct democratic system? Do you think it's a fair system? Leave your thoughts in the comments section below and join the discussion. While you're at it, remember to give us a like, subscribe to our channel, and hit the bell icon to be notified of our upcoming videos. Also, if you want to know why Trump will likely win the 2020 election, just click on this video that's popping up on your screen right now. We'll show you how and why some of the most accurate predictions that hold Biden as the winner are most probably wrong.